If you're watching this video, odds are you've made a mistake in your life. You've probably had a period of time, whether it be a day, week, or even a whole season, where things can't go right and you feel like the world is against you. Well, when it comes to this hypothetical situation, there are three kinds of people, all of which are currently watching this video, and that includes you, whoever you are, and wherever you are. The three people are A, the person who is currently in that period of time where everything is against you and nothing's going right. Person B is the person who just got through that situation or has already been through that period of time. And person C is the person who will and is about to go through that period of time. Today, we'll be covering Josh Allen, the current quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Right now, Josh Allen is person B. And I'm going to explain how the power of recency bias not only saved his career and reputation, but how recency bias can help you handle bad narratives and rebound from any situation. Recency bias is a self-explanatory concept, but nonetheless I will still provide you with the definition to freshen you up in case you forgot. The definition of bias is as follows: prejudice in favor of one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way that's considered to be unfair. So essentially, you like a person, place, or thing, aka a noun, more than something else due to unfair circumstances, usually not with any solid evidence or based off a preconception, whether it's right or wrong. Anyways, the definition of recency is having happened, begun, or been done not too long ago or not long before. Basically something that has happened within a short span of time in comparison to when whatever you're talking about is happening, or in comparison to what you're referencing. So with that, we get recency bias, which is favoring a person, place, or thing based on recent events. Now, with that, now that we understand what recency bias is, we can now dive into how Josh Allen went from a potential failure to one of the league's most valuable players. Most valuable? In 2018, Josh Allen entered into the annual NFL draft. Now, if for some reason you aren't familiar with the severity of the NFL draft, the best way I can explain it is like this. Imagine something you've done for your whole life, whether it be basketball, football, driving cars, working on cars, construction, retail, gaming, cleaning, health, etc., etc. Now imagine for the last 11 to 15 years, you've been not only doing your said profession or hobby, but a large majority of that 11 to 15 years have been practicing and molding yourself mentally and physically to be the absolute best at said profession. And with this, not only are you the best carpenter, not only are you the best point guard, nurse, mechanic, editor, widowmaker, cashier, not only are you the best quarterback in your city, but you went to college and you're the best one there too. Now, after the decade and a half of you being an absolute phenom at said profession, you get the opportunity to be one of 256 people to be selected to a company to get an opportunity to make a minimum of $142,000 a year. And that's just to be an intern at this company. If you actually get the job, like if you actually get a position in said company, you can make anywhere between a minimum of $610,000 to a maximum of tens to hundreds of millions. And Josh Allen was one of around 3,500 people who entered the competition to be selected to this job. Now, judging that only 256 people will be picked, with some simple math, we found out that you have, if you're one of these 3,500 people, you have, under normal circumstances, you have a 7% chance to be selected to this job. But fortunately for Josh Allen, these weren't normal circumstances. Josh Allen was taken 7th overall by the Buffalo Bills. He was the 3rd quarterback drafted, meaning the company known as the NFL and its team saw him as the 3rd best quarterback out of the hundreds of people who entered the draft. FYI, a large majority of these quarterbacks never saw the light of day, most of them don't get drafted. But not only was he seen as the 3rd best quarterback in his class, but of the 3,500 players who entered, he was seen as the 7th best out of all of them, regardless of position. Seemingly overnight, but over the next 2 to 3 months, Josh Allen would sign a contract giving him 4 years in the NFL with a chance to earn $21 million. And in fact, because of some smart management, he didn't have a chance to. When he signed that contract, he made sure that all 21 million of those dollars were fully guaranteed. So that means no matter what happens to him during this 4-year span, he gets that $21 million no matter what. He also got a signing bonus for $13.5 million, and he gets that just for signing the contract, and most of the time that gets to him within 2 weeks. So within 2 weeks, once he got the contract done, within 2 weeks of signing his name, he was already a multi-millionaire. Now, to give a brief rundown on why and how Josh Allen, who at this point is a 21-year-old man, just became a multi-millionaire seemingly overnight. Well, Josh Allen is a 6'5", 235-pound man, at least at the time of him being drafted, who plays quarterback, which, if you don't know, is the most valuable position in the NFL, along with him having the traditional height and weight, which makes old school coaches and evaluators love him. He's also, by consensus, had the strongest arm out of all the quarterbacks in the draft, backing that up by making this 80-yard throw on his pro day.
This is the offense that we will run. This is how this guy could elevate our team. And so he has a lot of momentum.
He also ran a 4.7 40-yard dash. To put that in perspective, the average human adult runs a 5.6 40. So not only is he taller and more bulky than your average man or athlete in general, not just quarterback, but he's also almost a full second faster than your average man. And at this point, if you haven't clicked off the video, you're probably thinking, you're insinuating that Josh Allen is not only a physical specimen, but was the best person at his job in high school and in college, and determined to be the 3rd best quarterback out of hundreds, and in the top 1% of players available in his class out of the 3,500 others. And also, he just signed a $21 million contract, which he gets every penny of, regardless of what happens to him. Oh, and he got an extra $13 million for just signing the damn contract. So, how the hell did he need his career saved? And why does recency bias apply to him? Well, that leads us to the semi-final chapter of this video. Playing QB in the NFL is hard, and explaining why it's hard would take its own 20-minute video, but I'm just going to summarize it very vaguely in a paragraph or two. It probably took 2.5. Anyways, as a starting NFL quarterback, you're considered one of 32 of the best in the world at your job, which is a high accolade, but that comes with some high expectations. Now, in Josh's situation, he was picked for the Buffalo Bills as a top 10 player in his class, so just being 1 out of 32 isn't enough. If he's not performing at top 10 minimum, he can lose his job and be scrutinized for years. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. Well, check this out. Normally, when you're deemed one of the best players, when you're deemed one of the best in the world, it comes with a lot of respect and praise. Well, in the NFL, it comes with extreme expectations and a lot of comparisons. Josh Allen to this day is not only compared to quarterbacks already in the league, but the quarterbacks he came into the league with. And these comparisons will continue until a few years after he retires. But remember how I said Josh Allen was the 3rd quarterback taken in that draft back in 2018? Well, there were 5 taken in the first round of the draft that year. The first quarterback taken was Baker Mayfield, who was not only was he the first quarterback taken, but he was the first player taken in the entire draft, which the Browns deemed him as the best player in the draft by drafting him number 1 overall, which is kind of like being the valedictorian at a school like Stanford or Harvard. The second quarterback taken in that draft was Sam Darnold. He was selected 3rd overall by the New York Jets. As mentioned earlier, Josh Allen was taken with the 7th by the Buffalo Bills. Josh Rosen was taken 10th overall by the Arizona Cardinals. And last but not least, Lamar Jackson was the quarterback and last player selected in that draft. Well, not the draft, but last player selected in the first round. Now, Josh Allen will be compared to these guys and whoever is successful at quarterback for the rest of his career. Now, let's fast forward the build up of this past season. Josh Rosen, the quarterback taken 10th overall by the Arizona Cardinals, didn't crash and burn. His fate was much worse. Josh Rosen didn't even get off the runway, and after just 1 year, he was replaced and has been a journeyman ever since. Sam Darnold is on thin ice this year, being the make or break for his Jets career. As with his 11-16 record, he's not the savior everyone thought he was. On a brighter note, Baker Mayfield, despite being, 12-17, at this point he holds the record for passing touchdowns as a rookie quarterback, and his 6 wins as a rookie alone were more wins than the Browns earned in the last 2 years previously combined. Most were excited about what Baker could do after his sophomore slump, that now that he has better coaching and whatnot. Now, and last but not least, Lamar Jackson, the last player taken on that night, was coming off a year where he won unanimous MVP in his first season as a full-time starter. In case you do not know what that means, it means of all the votes cast, every single one of them went to Lamar. Not one person voted for someone else. So let's come back to Josh Allen. Allen was drafted ahead of Lamar Jackson and Josh Rosen. And although at this point he was more successful than Rosen and Darnold, nobody cared about that. The comparisons were to guys like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, etc., etc. Name any top 5 quarterback, he was being compared to them. Now, this was Allen's first season as a full-time starter. But unfortunately for him, Patrick Mahomes in his first season as a full-time starter, he also won MVP after throwing 50 touchdowns and leading his team to the AFC Championship before losing to Tom Brady. But it doesn't help that this dude Patrick had just won a Super Bowl in the year of reference, which this is 2019. And like I said earlier, Lamar Jackson at this point is your reigning MVP. So he's being compared to the previous MVP and current Super Bowl champion and the current, MVP. Crazy. So at this point in time, the jury had it out for Josh Allen. So to make a long story short, Josh Allen was expected to be better than Lamar Jackson, who at this point, is deemed by consensus as the best player in the league, and is expected to be among the greats like your Aaron Rodgers, your Russell Wilson, and your reigning Super Bowl champion. The problem with these comparisons is they remove all context from the situation. Also, despite being in New York, the Bills don't get a lot of coverage unless they suck or do something insane. And when they do get covered, it's also very brief. But in those brief moments, people were pessimistic about Josh Allen's success. And at this point, Josh Allen was a victim of recency bias. Because recently, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes earned an MVP despite being in their second year when they did it. Also, recently, Kyler Murray had a decent rookie season, and people were being optimistic about the Arizona Cardinals, who were the worst team in the league the year before this. Also, Patrick Mahomes, a third-year quarterback, just won the Super Bowl. Now, Josh Allen threw more interceptions than touchdowns his rookie year, something that Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold, and the recently mentioned Kyler Murray didn't do. Also at this point, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and in some extreme cases, Sam Darnold were deemed to be on a better trajectory than Josh Allen. Now, at this point in time, Patrick Mahomes had 2 playoff appearances and was 4-1 and had a Super Bowl ring. Patrick also had an MVP. Lamar Jackson was 6-1 as a rookie, 13-2 as a sophomore quarterback, with 2 playoffs appearances and an MVP. And for you Lamar haters, I will throw in that he did lose both of those playoff games. With this being said, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes were the best players in their draft classes at the time. And while you can say like you're expected to be the best, so you're going to get compared to the best, well, like I said earlier, these comparisons lack context. Patrick Mahomes landed on a Kansas City roster that featured a playoff team with some hidden gems, including Patrick, who was still waiting to shine. The Kansas City Chiefs made the playoffs in the year that he was not starting, when he was sitting, and they were always a good team before there, in the couple years before, and he just took them to be great. Also, while it doesn't take away from his accolades, the accolades of Patty, the fact is he went to the perfect situation. He went to a team with talent and landed with Coach Andy Reid, who to this day is getting the most out of that talent. Now, Lamar Jackson didn't go to a playoff team, but he did go to a great organization, whom designed an offense around his strength, which is surprisingly rare for quarterbacks. Most coaches mold you to fit their scheme. Baltimore molded the scheme to fit Lamar. But the thing is, they compare him to the best quarterbacks in those draft classes, but what about the other quarterbacks? At this point in time, Josh Allen had led his team to a playoff game, although he lost, something Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen hadn't done. Also, Josh Rosen at this point was deemed a failure and is shunned from starting an NFL game already. Josh Allen, who had a better rookie season than Mitchell Trubisky, and in 2019, the year of reference, Josh Allen made the playoffs while Mitchell Trubisky did not. And Mitch was, I know it's a funny comparison now, stick with me. Mitch was the first quarterback taken in the 2017 draft class, which featured Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And this fact shows that Josh Allen was a victim of recency bias, as he was unfairly being compared to the clear-cut best of the bunch at the time, but wasn't being compared to the QBs who failed. Baker Mayfield, who at this point in time mellowed out and was average, and wasn't even compared to Deshaun Watson, who is equally as great as Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. He just didn't have the accolades. To summarize, Josh Allen was still adjusting to playing quarterbacks in the NFL, his rookie season, which wasn't good. But I mean, he is a rookie. But in his second season, not only did he improve, but he led his team to the playoffs for the second time in over 20 years. Despite this accolade, media was still pessimistic about his future as a quarterback, speculating if his time was up because they were comparing him to the previous 2 MVPs rather than the other 29 quarterbacks in the league. Forgive my voice cracking. I am so sorry. Anyways, now you're being told you're not good enough, and you're having your work heavily criticized, and having your work criticized is a little heartbreaking. I'm sorry, I've been talking for 30 minutes straight, okay? Give me a break. I know it's not 30. This video is probably at like 15 minutes right now. I'm sorry. It's hard to talk this long and not fuck up, especially if you feel you've been putting up a good product, which Josh Allen was. But his product was undervalued due to the favoritism shown to Patrick and Lamar Jackson. Ironic saying the favoritism of Lamar Jackson right now. Now, I'm not saying Patrick and Lamar don't deserve the praise that they're getting, but if you're going to compare the best players in the world, we need to include some context, which I don't understand. How these shows stream for 8 hours, these shows were going for hours on ESPN and NFL Network, but they spend 2.5 minutes trying to explain a team. That's ridiculous. You have 8 hours and you rerun it over and over and over. If you took your time and you explained everything, you can fill up the fucking 8 hours with some quality content instead of repeating the same shit over and over. Anyways, we need to include the good and the bad rather than one or the other for clicks and views. But this isn't about how the media influence an audience. This video is about Josh Allen. And at this point in time, everyone that wasn't a Buffalo Bills fan, everyone that wasn't a Buffalo Bills fan or me, believed Josh Allen was done. They believed Josh Allen plateaued. They believed he wasn't going to live up to the hype. And well, this is where the inspirational part of the video hits. With his back against the wall and everyone but his team against him, this is how Josh Allen responded. This previous year, the 2020-2021 season, Josh Allen went 13-3 and set the league on fire. And there are numerous videos praising Allen for his improvement, admitting fault for not believing in him in the whole 9 yards. And now, based off the last season, everyone expecting Josh Allen to be the next MVP, and now everyone expects Josh Allen and the Bills to be Super Bowl contenders. And this is why I decided to take my time and portray this story rather than make an unscripted hot take. If you remove all context from this story, Josh Allen was a 21-year-old man who spent over a decade perfecting his craft and being the best quarterback he can be. He signs with the biggest company in the world for his profession, the NFL, becomes a millionaire. 4 weeks into his job, he's deemed one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the world. Now, let me pause for the second. If you're deemed one of the best, 32 best in the world at anything, odds are you would be a little cocky. Nonetheless, after 2 years, people were concerned about Josh Allen's abilities. The media were insinuating that he should lose his job. Now, with people said he wasn't good enough. And here's the bright side about narratives and recency bias. You control them. With the way the league was unfairly looking at Josh Allen in 2019, it seemed like at the end of 2020, he would lose his job and be considered a bust. But with the help of others, Josh Allen had his best season yet. A season where he was heavily considered for NFL MVP, most valuable player. Josh Allen flipped the narratives. After 2 seasons, he was being compared to the best players in the league, which most of them being in better situations. For comparison, that's like me as a 21-year-old Walmart worker being compared to DDG, who at 23 years old made millions of dollars on YouTube and just made it on the XSL freshman list as a rapper. To get back to the point, in 2019, the world either ignored the progressions that Josh Allen made or discredited it because someone else was doing better. Now, after hard work, dedication, and some help, Josh Allen was one bad game away from the Super Bowl, the biggest spectacle in sports, not named the Olympics. If you listen to reports about Josh Allen now, you're probably going to hear people in the mainstream media talking about him being one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league or expecting his team to be in a championship. And this is the tale of Josh Allen and the power of recency bias. Recency bias and narratives are only as powerful as you let them get. Josh Allen didn't let the bias and unfair criticism get to his head. Instead, he went to work and focused on the things he could control and got better every day. His coaches saw it, his teammates saw it, and the rest is history. So if there's anything you can pull from this video, is that the power of recency bias is always changing. When you're in the mud and all these bad things seem to be happening, in this case, sports media will talk about it and whatever you've done wrong and compare you to those who are doing better. And even if you don't play sports, most people do this to themselves. When you have a bad day, you notice more things that upset you. You focused on them making your day, month, or even your life progressively worse. Your recency bias is favoring bad things that you think are happening more recently over the good things that are happening in your life. Also, recency bias may lead you to feel like you have no friends or anyone to support you despite having a number of people who are cool with you. Recency bias only has power if you let it have power. It's kind of like Pennywise, a demon who gets stronger the more you fear him. So when you're in a ruck, be like Josh Allen. Focus on the things you can control. Lean in on your help if you have it. Pain is temporary. Narratives will change. You can always change the recency bias against you. This video was inspired by and interpolates the video made by Made to Express. The video that I'm popping up on screen is about Ferb Fletcher and the power of stoicism. If you like the philosophy behind this video, not only is this video by Express really good, but he talks about, he has others talk about the power of gratitude and things like that. On a side note, I am a little under 200 subscribers away from 2,000 total subscribers. That would be an amazing milestone to hit, but it would help this channel get not only would it be great, it will help help me get the recognition I deserve, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I'm gonna go work on one more of these and try to combine philosophy and sociology with football. If you guys show this love, I'll do more videos like this, but this video took a lot of work and I hope it doesn't fall upon deaf ears. All right, closing statements. Even though that was the outro, it's fuck, hold on, let me because there was something I wanted to. No, that's it. All right, so yeah, let me know there's gonna be a longer commentary video. This is more like a mini documentary to keep it a stack with you. But yeah, this is Josh Allen in the power of recency bias. If you like the video, you know what to do, let a brother know. But let me know how you feel about Josh Allen. Were you hating on him a year ago and now you're like, holy crap, he's good? Do you think he progressed? Are you one of the people on the hype train for him? This, that, and the third. Do you feel like he was a victim of recency bias? Who else do you think is a victim of recency bias? The next one I'm going to work on is about Lamar Jackson. And yeah, it's going to be a little controversial, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah, there's nothing much to say, but I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, if you know, man, because we know we up next, sponsored by Atari. And